All right, welcome everyone to the second part of Loving the Sinner workshop. So last week I gave this big spiel on what I'm realizing about this particular aspect of our development, where you have to be honest to confront your addictions and what it's doing, but then alongside with it, you got to learn how to treat yourself, or you will be inspired by your guides to learn how to treat yourself differently. Because basically, the treatment that created the addiction cannot be the same treatment that's going to cure it. So we internalize how we treat it, and then we try to treat ourselves the same way. It's not going to solve the thing that got created: the woundings, the injury, the addictions, the justifications. So we have to now treat ourselves differently. Maybe treat ourselves the way we would have liked to have been treated. So that we did not develop those addictions, or we were more able to confront those parts to ourselves at a much younger age, So we had some ideas come up. Everyone had some ideas that they may want to explore, but you may have had other insights during the week about confronting the truth about what you're doing, about the sins, about maybe some awareness about how you are treating yourself, that you're beginning to realize is actually kind of harsh. Any insights that you want to share, what your week has been like? Alicia?
I can't say as I've had any insights, but I've felt myself that I've allowed myself to be held more. Like it felt like by my real mother, and I felt less judgmental to myself, more free and easy, and less pushy. Before I was like, "God, do that, get that done." Yeah, less pushy.
That's awesome. Have you noticed that how has it changed? Maybe more expression of more emotions, or maybe less addictions, or more awareness about the addictions? Like, what's it doing for you by doing that?
I feel the biggest thing is that I notice something and I'm more like, oh, that's interesting, than punishing myself, than judging myself.
Beautiful.
I was like, oh, here you go again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay.
It does. Yeah, it does allow for more to come, because you're not gonna. It's like you have to earn the trust of that part to you that's carrying all the pain.
Yeah, but I'm definitely, I mean, I'm not that aware, but I'm more aware than perhaps I might have been the week before.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Others? Jill.
Okay. I had to figure out how to unmute myself, although I've been doing this for 2 years. Lots of judgment I've been working on judgment. Sorry, the dogs. And every time that I noticed, maybe I'll let somebody else go first and I'll come back.
Thank you. Selena.
I think my big aha for me this week was I can feel my anger and talk to myself about my addiction and the anger. Like, I feel my repetitive response to anger and going, oh, I want to keep going there. I want to feel the addiction and the anger, and also being able to just feel whenever it comes up. And then when I'm home doing things with my body to express anger. So coming from a 2-year-old place, so trying to, I feel like I'm not getting to the causal injuries when I'm processing my anger, like I'm getting to responsibility for it. But just doing expressions of anger, my 2-year-old self expressing anger physically, I'm now starting to tie the two together a little better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm not putting a bunch of rules on it. Got to do this first and this first and this first. I'm just
Yeah.
doing it. I'm just, okay, I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe your judgment about anger is less. Like you have to work through your blocks to let yourself express. Yeah.
Yeah, like sort of, if you have to sometimes put the cart before the horse, you have to put the cart before the horse sometimes, you know,
Yep.
come at it from the other direction or just keep at it. Yeah, because particularly when you really start feeling that the source of being so pre-memory.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? You know?
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It'll keep flowing anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
It's been good.
Anybody else that had a chance to try out some of their intentions for last week? There was Selena, yours was let her be crazy. So
Oh yeah,
you
been doing all
did
that stuff. Did some really nice angry coloring. Jess might be excited about that. What's your name?
And-
It's Jess, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and falling and tantruming, and that's getting easier, and yeah,
Okay.
and just not just keep trying and getting somewhere with that
Yeah.
process.
Try
Just,
things.
yeah, taking action. Like I feel like the only way I know my big aha moment was if I do 2-3-year-old actions of anger, like I can't feel like I can't get there with the other process, like of taking responsibility for the manifestations of that.
Yeah.
Like I can't, like it's physical with the child. It's just physical. There's just no other, no matter how much I resist or don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's just physical because the 2-year-old child is physical.
Yeah.
It's just got to happen that way. Finally succumb to that truth.
I think you also said no excuses. That was your intention.
No
last week,
excuses.
so
Yeah,
good
because
for
I just
you.
really didn't want to do that. I don't like to use my physical body. I don't.
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, Jill, are your dogs quieter?
Yeah, they're outside now. I'm just really angry about all of this. It's bringing up a lot of addictions, and I don't want to see it. However, I have noticed throughout this week that my eyesight has actually gotten a little bit better, like a smidgen better, which is kind of interesting. And I'm noticing that I spend most of my days in judgment, and that's not a comfortable place to be, right? And so yeah, that's where I'm at right at the moment.
That's good. Your intention last week was to not judge, which starts with becoming aware of you judging. So that's good. As you start to become aware of how much you're judging, that right there is going to start to make you backtrack. That's really good. I hope you get some good answers today. That will, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Michael.
I was going to practice tenderness, and
Yes.
I didn't get on the program until late in the week. But when I stopped to feel myself, stopped to feel my hurt self, I found she was always present, and she wasn't angry at me for not checking in. She was just kind of there, and anger was not part of her personality.
Okay.
It's kind of surprising. Yeah.
Wow. It's really interesting when you make the breakthrough and your hurt self starts to trust you. It's gold. A lot can start happening once that is done. It's the most precious thing I've accomplished in my life, basically, is to earn the trust of my own hurt self, who can now start to present some very powerful stuff, painful, powerful stuff. Thank you. Okay, so for today, I was feeling that we need to become more aware of ways in which we are punishing ourselves. Like it takes a long time and a lot of sensitivity to recognize how we're punishing ourselves and why. And then so that you can actually see that action, like my action, I have what I call the punisher facade. It's about like, well, how else are you going to stay on top of things? It's like, whoa, that's my justification. Ooh, very harsh. So it's good to continue being sensitive to that. So I would like us to ask the question. Michael, can you see the questions in the chat box, or do I have to repeat? You probably, because you come on late, you probably can't see it. So I'll put it down again. Can you see it now? Yeah, okay. Michaela? Okay, so we'll step, we'll close down the recording. We'll go away, ask the question, how am I punishing myself? Receive the answers from your guides. Receive as many answers as you can, and then we'll come back and share what we get. Okay. All right, so what you guys get for answers for how you are punishing yourself? Dawson?
Okay, I got a few things here.
Yeah.
Working too hard, but I put that as a question because I'm not sure. Another point is probably feeling worse than I have to when I do something wrong.
Uh-huh.
And blaming myself for basically everything. And I want to compare that, or I want to put it out there, like where do you draw the line between blaming yourself for everything and taking responsibility for everything in your life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Good one.
those are the few points I got.
Good one. Good. Others? Michaela?
First I had an image, and this is an image that sort of keeps coming to me a lot, where I feel like something maybe happened in my sleep state that was really violent, and I'm kind of stuck in that spot. And I had an image of that place and me like kicking myself there and whipping myself, which kind of surprised me. So I didn't really stay with that for long. But what that was about, though, was not giving voice to that experience, like not allowing that experience to be heard, and then seeing how a lot of the times that I don't give voice to things that are going on, I'm punishing myself. Yeah. And also the way that I eat food, the way that I drink water, just the sneer. I've noticed there's this real sneer in my internal dialogue.
Yeah. That. Oh, yeah. That's a good one too. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good. It's kind of like what Michaela and Dawson say, it's kind of tying into each other. When you don't give voice to your experience, you're going to stay in blame, because then you're going to stay in self-blame. When you start to voice your experience, then you start to go, wait a minute, I'm not responsible for what that person did. And a lot of our conversation with you guys is usually about, whoa, hold up. Somebody did that. How is that your fault? You know, if you remember our conversation, sometimes I go into, if you want to take responsibility, it's got to be the truth of God's laws broken from God's perspective. For that, go for it. Take responsibility. If you're taking anything outside of that, you're taking a blame, so that somebody else doesn't have to feel the responsibility, and their conscience doesn't have to get triggered. So sometimes we accept blame so that we can avoid somebody else's rage. Because if you call it like it is, you give voice to your experience, you're calling it like it is, the person's conscience is going to get triggered. And if you're still in addiction or wanting something from them, that rage will come at you. So then you don't want that rage, so you will sit in self-blame, which is what happened in childhood, basically. So hopefully that gives you some ideas, Dawson. There'll be a few more coming along as we go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you.
Yeah. But that said, giving voice to your experience is huge, because that's when you start to hear yourself talk, and then your guides are able to kind of put in their pointers of like, that's you can't. Yeah, I mean, I'm working through sexual abuse, so that's really rough, and a lot of self-blame is the predisposition. The child is groomed to accept that, and that is the grooming for which then the child is targeted for abuse. And so when I'm working through the issues, the blame piece is awful. So again and again, I have to ask, what's God's truth about this issue? Over and over. And there were some issues that were really tough, and I had to keep asking, you got to give me a framework here. And then I was given certain kind of like allegory or a picture or a story, which clearly defined the role of my addiction as a child and the role of the perpetrator and where that line is drawn. And that truth was so powerful. It's just like liberated me to keep working through. Even though I have to feel the blame, I'm feeling it as a trauma and not as a kind of like accountability. So this blame piece is a very important piece to work through. So yeah, you kind of have to let yourself feel I'm being blamed, because when somebody doesn't want to feel their emotion, what they're going to do is blame. That's just the switch right there. Jill and then Alicia. No, Jill, where are you? No, okay, Alicia.
First of all, thank you for talking about the blame. I can see that I felt blamed and blamed myself. So that's great. I'll add that to my list. I feel like I overly organize myself, not in commitments with other people, but in just my time. I do that more than just following moment by moment desires. Like I have to have it all organized. And I feel like that's actually blocking me, blocking a flow of the law of attraction a little bit.
Yeah,
that makes sense. I feel like I often am more concerned about what I need to do for another person rather than first of all taking care of myself. Even the dogs, I mean, I feed them before I feed myself.
Yeah.
Definitely have a food thing that I overeat. I eat a bigger portion than I need, for sure. And eat like midnight last night, I think it was. And that brings up bed, it's time to sleep. And I'm not giving myself enough rest, basically. And enough time to process, especially in the morning. Sometimes because I've taken myself to bed late, then because my best time is always first thing in the morning, and then I don't give myself that time. Anyway, so that's a little bit of a long list, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you. But what's interesting is how are you treating yourself about the fact that you do those things is where my attention goes. So the fact that you're doing those things is kind of a self-punishment, but then how you treat yourself for doing those things make me go, what happens there?
Yeah, actually, well, and I'm recognizing, well, I've definitely been less judgmental this week.
Nice,
but I only said less. I didn't say like I'm totally done. No, far from it.
Yeah.
And I like the way you explain that to Jill about just even recognizing that you're judging yourself is helping. So yeah, that opens the door.
Yeah, thank you, Jill.
Me operating a computer today is not a good idea. So in that blame, how can I help the hurt child if I blame her?
So
Like,
in your facades right now, you are blaming and abusing the hurt self.
Okay.
Yeah. which is why we got to recognize the facades. We are abusing the hurt selves.
So being able to recognize the facade, then you can help the hurt child.
Yeah.
So
So when you're judging, you're
recognizing-
judging the child. When you're
when
blaming, you're blaming the child.
so when I'm blaming the
Yeah.
child, that's the judgment to recognize the facade.
And when you go, oh, there's a child in there I'm doing this to, that will stop you pretty quick.
Yeah, but and I know you've said that before, and we've had that discussion before.
Okay.
And I look at and I'm like, but that's me. Like, it's not just any child. If it was any child, yeah, I'd be right there with it.
Ow.
But
Ow.
that's me. Like,
Oh,
I deserve that. So I'm blaming
no.
her. And
I'm gonna hide your hurt self from you. I'm gonna take her. I'm adopting her. She's staying with me.
that's where I'm at.
Okay. Okay. You may want to add an extra question to your guide grid. So what do I do with that? Okay, well, okay. So I have tried to own the experience of the facade that wants to attack the child. I have kind of like owned the emotion. I'm so mad at you. You should have figured this out. If only you weren't so needy. Like I've just let myself rant it out just so I can own the emotion. And then I will go, but God, how are you treating this child? How are you treating this kid? And then as I do that, I'm going, oh, I know where this come from. I know, like I'm 3 or 4 year old, and I have a mother going, you should have known better. And I'm like, how? How should I know? Like, what does that even mean? So then you start to, I guess, play both parts, and then truth can enter you, logic can enter you. But yeah, I'm holding your hurt self hostage. If that's even a thing. But yeah, no, that is the journey. That is what we're trying to figure out right now. Yeah, because being treated harshly is what created the injuries. So now we are reconfronting the behavior that created the injury, and we obviously can't do the same thing that created the mess. We can't solve it with the same thing that created it. Yeah. Hopefully you'll get some. Yeah, I mean, God isn't punishing. God is not punishing. That was how I was challenging my Punisher facade last week, that God isn't punishing. And I think the penny dropped, and I shifted into something. Then I get mad at God for not punishing. You should punish me. But then, you hear yourself talking, you're like, ooh, there's a problem here. Thank you, Jill. Michaela?
I was just going to reiterate what you said about how I noticed for me, I really had to go into that space of feeling how much I wanted to blame myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, really wanting to know God's truth in that process, or bringing God in, or even, and I found for me a big part of the journey was having little photos of myself as a child, so that I could start to get a reference for who it was that I was projecting all that shit at.
I don't know if I can show you. That's my screen on my phone. Yeah, it helps.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look at her going, I hate you. And I go, oh boy, I have a problem today. So it's interesting to see what comes out of me as well for those times. Thank you. And let's move on. So let's ask the main question here, which is, why am I punishing myself? This is where you start to connect to the addictions related. Okay, I forgot to share my answers from the first part. How am I punishing myself? I got that I don't believe I'm worthy of God's tenderness or assistance, that I have to do this by myself. I'm not letting God and her goodness in. I'm cruel to myself. that there's something fundamentally bad about myself, that believing those things, and that I don't want God's opinions about myself and my sins, because I usually like God's truth about issues, but this past 2 weeks, not asking God any more questions. So just because I'm facing some sins, suddenly I feel as if I'm on a timeout. So I put myself on a timeout when, should be the opposite. Those are how I'm punishing myself. I'm isolating myself from assistance from God. And I had an image of myself squeezed in real tight. There's no cracks anywhere where God can come in. Like it's all sealed up tight. I'm doing that to myself. Yeah, those were my answers. Okay, second part. Why are you punishing yourself? Who wants to start? Michaela? Oh.
Yeah, okay, I wasn't putting my hand up for sure.
Eyewitnesses, we all saw her. Sorry,
Okay,
I thought you did.
maybe I will. I just had an experience of, from my first moment of being here, of just being surrounded by barbs that were all pointing towards me, and that was really the majority. That was my experience. So I just turned the barb onto myself as well. That was, yeah, that was what I said.
So the why for you is because that's all you know. That's what you believe reality is.
No other modeling. Yeah. Yeah.
Good one. Thank you. Okay. Other answers? Darcy?
Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Fear.
Oh, which
Fear
one?
of the truth.
Okay.
Fear of my own emotions. Fear of being different. And I could probably keep on going on.
Okay.
That was like the first thing that popped into my head, so I just kind of wrote it down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I could elaborate on that, I guess, but
I know that's it. That's actually really good. I think usually the fear of truth is usually because of the fear of emotion.
yeah.
And
Well, like for my own case in particular, like I know last year I spent literally 3 months processing, and I don't want to do that again. Like I don't, it was horrible. So, if there's something that puts me back into that state, I don't want to do it. Like I don't want to go there. So
okay.
that's my own stuff I got to deal with. But, if I was to, I don't really know where to go from there.
Okay. So so that means that there's grief about what that process was like for you. Will be the grief about the process. Once you release that, then you will feel differently about the process.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I'm also having trouble like connecting to this aspect of having like a different self. Like it doesn't really resonate with me,
Yeah.
Like I just feel like I'm me, and kind of like separating that just doesn't really resonate with me at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else feels that way.
For me, because the severity of trauma created kind of like a more defined divisions, so it's easier for me to see, and that's given me kind of like a paradigm of seeing how things work. So I'm trying to give the paradigm. I don't know what it's like for everyone. I'm assuming it's not as bad. I mean, Michaela, probably something pretty similar, I think, because of the extent of our traumas. Like you can see the hurt self, and I don't know. I'm just experimenting here. We'll see.
Of course, yeah.
I hope it's not the same for everybody, because that's not a good sign. But yeah, thank you.
Each to their own. I mean, I found when I really start to dig deep, I don't consider myself particularly mediumistic, but I have experienced, like when I was digging back in some deep memories. I had a lot of stuff happening with spirits when I was a little kid, especially with women.
Yeah.
So anyways, I don't want to get off track with that kind of stuff, but where was I going with that anyway? So maybe that aspect of me not feeling very mediumistic has made me kind of separate from the question. I don't really know.
That's a good point. I mean, you've already listed fears. Fear is the reason why. So expanding on that, you can, yeah, keep going. Good one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other answers? Why are you punishing yourself? Jess?
Also fear. I think it was tantruming a bit before I was able to get into it. And so
Okay.
it's like, because it's easy, because, just because.
Okay.
And then it's like, because it's easy, because it's default mode. It's like, because it's all I know.
Yeah.
And then because I'm afraid. Why am I afraid? Because I don't trust. I don't feel safe treating myself well. If I treat myself well, it could all be taken away. I'll be judged. I'll be attacked for it.
Yeah.
If I punish myself, then I'm safe from worse violence.
Yeah.
Then I can stay small and quiet and hidden. Anything else is scary, too vulnerable.
There you go. So again, fear.
Then
And
I
yes,
go into the crying.
yeah, okay, good. That's very good. When you do start treating yourself nicely, or when you don't treat yourself badly, which sometimes is the same thing, you may experience more attack from spirits. So that is going to be the experience. I'm going to treat myself well, or I'm going to not treat myself badly, and then I will experience more projections coming at me from spirits. So I am appeasing angry spirits by treating myself badly.
Yeah, and realize that like I treat myself or like my desires, my hurt self as such a burden. And
Yeah.
like last week, the answer I got like just about it all was like, oh, I'm neglected. And then this
Yeah.
week it's, oh, I'm neglect myself because I'm a burden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. Like I have a lot of feelings about, oh, this is going to take forever. It's going to take so long. I don't get to live my life. I'm just going to spend it processing emotions all the time, which now that you've named it, is me saying that she's a burden. Those emotions I have from the hurt self is a burden. So good awareness. Thank you, Jess. Jill.
Okay, so I really want to judge this answer, but why am I punishing myself? What came up was to train me to be a good person. So, and the image or the example was like when you're training a dog, not in a good way. So, not that I was ever beaten as a child, but verbally beaten. So, when you scold, the dog does something that you don't want it to do, you scold it to get it back into line. And that's how I was brought up. So I'm constantly on that sort of correction to be a good person, because I believe that I'm not. I believe that I'm actually a horrible person. So, to keep me in that good person line, I have to keep on correcting myself to keep it in that line. So, at all costs, like whatever you need to do, you do it to, I guess, toe the line to be that good person, that good dog.
If you don't do that, what's the fallout? Because that's where you'll catch the addiction that's keeping you doing that to yourself.
The fallout is that the fear that I won't be loved, that I really am a horrible person, that I'll be all alone, all of that, the fears that Jess brought up, the all of those fears as well, and those are the fears that come up. This is something that I've seen. I'm not in touch with it, so it's a little hard, and I'm still angry that I have to go see this, but or I have to go deal with this. But yeah, it's a lot of fears.
And interestingly enough, it's the addictions that keep us punishing ourselves. If you still want the addiction of I won't be loved, if you're not willing to feel that, you're going to keep punishing yourself because there's a fallout. If I stop punishing myself, now I will not get loved. Well, if I'm willing to feel that, then okay, I'm going to stop punishing myself. But if I don't want to challenge that addiction, then I'll go back to it. So, yeah, thank you. And Selena, and then Michael.
Just to address the question of feeling the injured self, then I know for myself, I've come to realize that my facade was created so young that I just don't even have any concept of what my uninjured self is. Like I don't even have a feeling of having my authentic self taken from me at all, like nothing. And I developed rigid control so young, pretty good saving mechanism, actually. It's pretty strong in that. Yeah, saving myself. And
Sure.
So yeah, there's really no other way than to try to find that person. And it's hard. It's really taken me a while to get to that hurt child and to speak to her directly is like even finding my 4-year-old self is that person, like I'm going back to 2.5. Well, that's pretty young. Yeah.
And it can be very underdeveloped. So
yeah.
self
She's really, and very, a lot of it I'm now discovering has to do with a transfer of dark spirits from mother to child, punishing the child in lieu of the mother. And that's pretty dark stuff to feel. Pretty dark.
It's usually the mom's projection that call in the spirits anyway.
Yes. And actually create some relief for the mother in a sense when the child is being punished and is now vulnerable to those spirits. She actually experiences some relief. And that was today. Yeah.
Wow.
It was a biggie.
Okay.
Biggie.
Okay. Thank you. Michael.
Here I am. Okay. I'm like Jill. I feel like I'm not okay. Punishment is the acceptable response to not being okay, and it's what's to correct. And I just kind of never get okay. And so I just keep punishing, keep doing things that I don't ever give myself a break. I always make it hard on myself because I think that I've got to earn okayness, that I'm not okay just by being me.
And interestingly, if you look at how much progress we've made, we're like, well, it hasn't quite produced outcome, has it? The punishment. If punishment worked, we will have had the outcome we like. And it's like, well, but I'm not changing much. I'm not getting any outcome, so it must not be working. I mean, for me, it's like, if punishment work, I'll do it. I want outcome. Will it create change? If it doesn't, it's got to go. So you're like, oh, punishment has to go. I don't even know what that means. How do you even figure it out? But I'm so fixated on outcome that if God's saying that's called punishment, you got to quit it. I'm like, okay, fine. Let's go. So, yeah. So hopefully that will inspire you to go, well, it hasn't quite produced any change. Is it even working then?
Thank you.
Yeah. Alicia. Are you mute? You mute, Alicia.
I had this feeling of I often am treating myself in the way that my parents treated me, and then I'm treating God as if God is my parents, and then that's what I deserve, because I won't conform, because I won't fit in with what they want, because anyway, so I've got to learn, even if it's the hard way.
Exactly. This feeling of this is what I deserve, this is all I know, then gives us the value of our worth. So then we're going, this must be all I'm worth. and you will then continue accepting that treatment from everybody else, then you have the injury around words, when actually if you feel God's feelings of your word, you never accept it.
Yeah, and I can
Yes.
see how, sorry, I can see how that's played out with siblings. I mean, lots of people, spirits, definitely. I can see how that's just multiplied.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
My answers was why am I punishing myself is because I believe that will appease God and show sincerity for how sorry I am. I believe I deserve to be abandoned, when the truth is that I need God more now in this phase of my experience. I believe I'm unlovable and I'm trying to earn love. So if I'm on top of it, actually seeing my badness, well then I'm done for, because I'm trying to earn love, but not only how am I going to earn love when actually I'm a bad person? So then I punish myself. Those were the answers I received. So let's try to turn the river around a little bit now that we've seen what we're doing. The next question is, how does loving my hurt self help with stopping addictions? So that we can stop sinning, we can stop creating more pain for ourselves and others. How does it work? Let's receive the answer to that. Okay. Well, I got one sentence for my answer and I go, I'm sold. I'm good. That's it. This is happening. So hopefully something good happened for everybody. What answers did you get? I got to hear what Alicia got.
Well, I was just in resistance for any words to come.
Oh no.
And then I had this image of me not loving myself, and all the times I'm not loving myself, I saw myself bloating and bloating and bloating. I was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when I decided, okay, it's time to love myself, it was like I just like ping pricked it. I was like boof. And then it was like this. I was like jiving around. I was like, oh, loving myself. And so I was like, oh, no to all those addictions. So I just had this image anyway. That's why I was giggling.
That's beautiful. You're sold, eh? You're convinced. That's good. Awesome. Thank you. Others? I can see so much lightness now in this room. This is good. Anybody else? Who's next? Selena and then Dawson.
Well, I eventually got to a real simple place, that survival. Like, as small children, like, we're designed to survive in spite of we're designed to do it. We build these facades and these addictions to survive. And we continue to develop them as we get older because we don't love ourselves. So just loving that little person helps to see what I just needed to survive. I just needed to survive. And when you think that we were created to survive on unconditional love, we like way missed the mark. So why would I continue to beat myself up for that?
So you are talking about self-forgiveness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, juicy. I want that. You go for it. Then I'll have some for you. Teach me how. Thank you. Dawson?
There we go. Okay, so, well, if you love yourself, then if you have an addiction associated with that, then it's null and void, right? So the addiction doesn't even have to be there anymore. Right?
Yeah, that's it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's what I got.
That's awesome. Yeah, what a beautiful solution. Thank you. Michael.
I don't know the answer, so I'm going to pose this as a question because I think it is the answer. Because if I love my hurt self, I'll be doing the only effective thing I can do to not to feel loved.
Yeah.
Be okay. It's the end of the goal, except I just didn't know it was that way.
Yeah. That's it. You're chasing your tail. Found it. Wow. Yeah. It is that simple.
It's hard to believe.
We're
Well,
all
no,
getting
I better not say that.
what, but I mean, it should be. It's like, oh, that's it. That's the end of the struggle right there. Just with that, like it's done. Yeah. But like, why wouldn't God's truth be that simple? Wow. Like, isn't that attractive? Like everyone's getting an answer that is so attractive for you that you're like, oh yeah, I want that. Okay, Michaela.
I got that like by making contact with her and staying in that connection, I'm kind of grounding myself into my life rather than being off with spirits and out of body and stuff. So it helps sensitivity to develop and the desire to treat other people well, and it just becomes more tangible to change.
Yeah. And mediumistic people like us, like our addiction is usually with spirits. So if you're grounding in your body, you're not in addictions. Less likely. That's awesome. Thank you. Jess, do you want to share what you got?
Jill or Jess?
Jess.
Yep. Jess.
Sorry, Jess.
Okay, Jill.
Sorry, my bad. And then Jill.
I think I got like pretty much what Dawson said, but not as concisely. Like just with more like a joy over pleasure seeking, numbing, and dopamine fixes.
Yeah.
And that addictions are there to fill the hole created by lack of love. Start filling up with love. You won't need addictions to fill the emptiness. And then you not loving yourself equals actively rejecting God's love.
Ooh. Okay. How's that for? Wow, yeah. Was that confronting for you to feel that answer?
No,
Oh.
no, it was like, yeah, I've been well aware of that, but
Okay.
but it was the stuff that came first. Like I needed like the simplicity of the answer in order for like, I wasn't confronted with that. I've known that for a long time, but now it's like, oh, but it's just so simple about how to deal with that.
Awesome. Thank you. Jill.
I got an image of just kind of turning to jelly kind of thing and like letting it all go. Or I should say, more importantly, removing the supports that keep me upright now. So, and that translated to, so that I can get outside of my head, that translated into leaving the past behind, or not leaving the past behind, just leaving the past. Yeah. Just leaving the past. And as much as I don't like using this word, it was very insistent that I use this word, but manifesting who I really am. So like Selena, these addictions and these facades were created pretty much when I was born. Maybe even before that, I'm not 100% sure. And so I have no idea who I am outside of these facades and addictions. So that is a journey that I've got glimpses so far, just little sparks here and there, but I don't know the whole picture. I don't even know what it looks like. I couldn't even begin to imagine what it would look like. So having that possibility that I can get there is encouraging. And I think it was Michael who said that loving yourself is the end goal. Like this is like the end all be all kind of thing. That is, that's beautiful to me. And then of course forgiving myself and all of that.
We'll let Selena set and then we'll follow. She'll lead the way. Yeah, so the answer I got was by loving myself, I don't need to go anywhere else to get what I want. I already have it within myself. Self-approval, self-acceptance, gentleness. I'm just fine within myself. Thank you. It's like, oh yeah, duh. Just like some of us got, like if you are giving it to yourself, you won't go for addictions to get it solved, done. And that's my goal, is to get rid of my addictions. I'm going, oh yeah, okay, I'm sold. I will try it. Anything that will stop those damn addictions. Okay. So let's go to the next question, which is, because now we're like, oh yeah, loving myself has a lot of incentive. So the next question is, what are my blocks to loving myself? I don't even know if the question is mute right now. Do we even need this question? Let's do it. What are my blocks to loving myself? Let's see if we get some answers, because by tomorrow we may lose this exuberance we're in right now. It's kind of, fed by our guides. So what are my blocks to loving myself? Let's come back with some answers. All right, let's see what answers we got to that. What are my blocks to loving myself? Mine was pretty straightforward and like doink, like, oh, what a good block to work through. But simple, straightforward. So who wants to start? Jill.
I have a question.
Okay.
The first thing that came out was guilt.
Oh yeah,
Is
good
that
one.
is that a block or a
Yeah.
fear? Yeah.
I would call fear a block as well. So yeah,
Well, yeah. Okay.
fear is a
Good.
block.
Good point.
Guilt, absolutely. The feeling of now guilt is a way of avoiding another emotion, right, Selena? I think we were talking about it. Guilt is in itself not an emotion. Oh, sorry, Selena, you're blocked. Mute.
Yeah, like it's not an emotion that you can process.
Yes.
No.
Like, it's a covering emotion. It's not. It's
Yes.
like shame. It's like swim in there forever.
Yeah.
I mean, shame can be an
Yes.
emotion process though, but guilt
Yes.
and blame are not.
Guilt, definitely not. Yeah, but even
Yeah.
shame covers over fear, and I don't know.
Guilt,
Okay.
shame can be
I
the
kind of put
right.
shame in there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some shame is healthy. Like, I mean, you're gonna feel embarrassed about seeing what's going on, and then you're ashamed as a child. So then that's a different
Mhm.
emotion to work through. But guilt and blame are kind of like the avoidance emotion. So what do you get to avoid feeling if you stay in guilt?
Well, and that's kind of what came up next, is that I'm not allowing sort of what I'm calling like downtime, like to be able to just kind of sit with my thoughts.
Yeah.
Terrifies me. Like I'll go eat, I'll go do something else, I'll go busy myself, I'll
Yeah.
play a game on the computer, like I'll do something, I'll do anything.
Yeah.
Rather than just sit in my own skin.
Like, just like what Dawson said earlier, one way of punishing yourself is working too hard. Absolutely. Workaholism is a self-punishment. It's definitely an addiction and self-punishment for sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. So, Michael.
For me, primarily, I'm not worth it. And also, I realized, oh, I don't want to be loved. So
Yeah.
just some real silly things.
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see what gets triggered if you let yourself be loved. What will come up? The anger. So usually for me, it's like, well, where was it when I needed it? What's the point of giving it to me now? Which is totally a tantrum. Sometimes that can be what comes up, but unworthiness can get triggered. Like, the only way to know what's in there is to let yourself be loved, and then see what gets flowing out of you. It's like a challenge yourself there. It's like myself kind of really squeezing myself real tight, not letting God in there at all at a time when I need God the most. So now I'm going, well, there's only one way for me to know what that's going to be like. because I really don't believe God wants to get in there. It's like, why would you want to get in here when I'm in this much like self-awareness about how terrible I am? Come on, leave me to it. So it's a bit of a plot twist for me to go, oh, God wants to get in there? Ugh, I'll try it. Thank you. And Dawson?
Okay, so for me, I got it feels selfish in some ways.
Yes. Yes.
Fear of my mom's opinion.
Yep. There you go. Good one.
And fear of what others may think of me, like if I act, if I'm emotional in a social situation, or if I act differently than I used to in the same situation in the past.
Yeah.
Which is strange because I actually genuinely feel like I don't really feel that way right now, but I wrote it down just because it kind of came to me. So
yeah,
maybe it's something I still need to work on, but yeah.
These
And
are
you got to
blocks
look
that-
at like, what is loving yourself, right?
That's the next question.
Yeah. What are some examples? Yeah, I got a good few.
I hope we got a list.
Yeah.
But yes, when you do be good to yourself, you will get triggered the feeling of, oh, I feel I'm being selfish, because we were treated that way. We were accused of being selfish. So you'll have to let yourself feel, I feel I'm being selfish, just to process the emotion, but keep going. In fact, the more you feel you're being selfish, the more you must be doing it right. See it as a sign. But you will have to process that, because why else would children stop being good to themselves? Usually that is the language parents use to get them out of it. You're being selfish. You should only be meeting my addictions. That's all you're here for. Stop being so selfish. It's basically what the parents say.
Yeah, that's a big one for a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah. So good one. Thank you. And Selena.
Yeah, my answers are really quite short today.
Yeah.
What I was taught who I am in order to serve the addictions of others. Basically, when I remove what I was taught about, beliefs about love, about myself that are false, then I will automatically start loving myself, because that's actually, we're created to love ourselves. I don't have to try it.
Yeah. Ooh, I like
So
that.
I'm going to
Selena.
stop trying. Oh, I shouldn't do that. I should be more loving to myself. I should be nicer to myself. I shouldn't judge. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm tired of doing that.
Yeah.
I'll get there.
It's like it's instinct. I would just
you just do automatically. Like little babies, like they just love everything about themselves. They just think they're the funniest, most amusing thing on the planet.
Yeah.
Entertaining, like they're
Yeah. Okay. So what you got was that this is what I was taught to do, and it's more about saying, well, maybe now I can be taught on how to love myself, and I will do what I'm taught now. My real mother will have taught me to love myself.
Exactly. Like I think the little bit I did get taught from God when I was a kid saved me.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. When I think of all the things that could have happened that didn't, I go, yeah, I found God early and I prayed a lot. It saved me. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
The blocks I got was all the punishment from the question before. Those were blocks. And not softening to emotions.
Yeah.
And suppressing. And then addiction to validation and acceptance, and fear of being a bad person, and the facade that it is selfish.
Yeah. Beautiful. Those are good blocks to just to work through. You just gotta feel them out or something, or just some of us can just go, oh, that doesn't even make sense anymore. Like I'm already not doing those things. I already am doing the opposite. I'm the adult that's already doing the opposite stuff. I can just let that go. So yeah, good. Thank you. My answer was, if I love myself, no one else will. It's like, oh, Right, because if you want love from others, which I still need to confront that, I want to be loved. And growing up, you only get loved if you had some kind of a story to justify it. That you're feeling you're destitute in some way, you're unhappy in some way, you need something, you look like you're meek and you're less than others, and only then they will then give you something because you got to make them feel superior. It's the only way I can earn love. So if I love myself, no one else will. And I'm going, well, about time I give that up anyway. Like, okay, let's just what's the word? Resign the world from the job of loving me. I think it's good. So I can just go, yeah, let's just let that addiction go. So, but I can feel the fear coming up in me. If I love myself, no one else will. I can feel the fear already getting triggered. So that's good. Okay, so oh, sorry, Alicia, yes.
Sorry, my hand thing doesn't work. I mean, I can say yes to practically everybody's, but the two that came to me were feelings of I'm restricting. I was restricted, and I'm actually restricting myself. So I had an image of me in a box, and then the other thing was I have megalophobia about some things. I didn't even know it had a name, but I'm afraid of big things sometimes. Some big things. And I feel like that's me being afraid of my potential.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and Michaela, do you wish to share?
What was the question?
What are my blocks to loving myself?
Oh, okay. So I'll sit with that one. I didn't get it. My phone died.
Okay, no worries. All right, so let's go ask the last question. What are some examples of how I can love myself, my hurt self, my real self, however you want to put it? Go get a long list, as long as you can. The guides we're flowing today. It's going good.
Can you send the questions again, Mila, to me, please?
Okay. Come on back. So who wants to start with examples on how you can love yourself? Alicia. You mute.
First of all, I got, I'm glad you didn't hear my swear word. I got, first of all, to fly like a butterfly and remember that you're rooted in God's love.
Oh, wow.
That was my overall feeling.
Okay.
And to be more spontaneous, dance and sing like I'm in a God bubble, like I'm walking down the street and I feel like dancing and singing. Let myself do that.
Yeah.
Stop, slow down, breathe, take the next step.
Okay.
So instead of just going into the next thing, take a moment.
Okay.
Keep focused on the goal. Like the goal is to be at one with God's love eventually.
Yes.
Like keep my focus on that. On the gate. Then I got live and let live, love and let love. I don't know, that just came like a little song to me.
Nice.
Be more curious, listen more deeply, and feel more fully.
Nice. Wow. I like that. Those last three. Yeah. You like read them out. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you. Okay, others? Selena?
I found in the last month the law of attraction has really come to mean a lot to me. The small voice that speaks in your head, the little things. Like I can't believe just the little things that I follow, the video that somebody suggests on Facebook, just all kinds of little stuff. And it's like, whoa, those all tied together real well. You know, and be grateful for that and be grateful for all of those, like all the time our guides are trying to help us and offer suggestions directly, or God is trying to directly talk to us, or trying to talk to us through other people, or God forbid, flood your house, you know, in 4 different ways. You know, like all kinds of ways of telling you, because your soul is just the most important thing, and all those things where even if they seem bad, they're still there. Like, and I'm starting to have a little more trust in that, a more faith in the lovingness of it, not just, are you kidding me? I have to buy 6 toilets.
Right. Well, so basically seeing law of attraction as a beautiful thing, no matter how uncomfortable you think you have to go through it, to love yourself, right? You are loving yourself when you see every law of attraction event as an assistance.
Yes. Because ultimately my soul is the most important thing to all the people involved, right? To all of the people and guides and God, and that is their greatest pleasure, to assist me in that process.
That's beautiful. I wish we could bottle this moment right now, like to kind of like press play whenever we need to come back into this space. That's beautiful. Thank you. Michaela.
I found like a big turning point for me in my life to start to care for myself more was noticing how I was treating the physical body and taking actions to care more for the physical body, which really just naturally then seemed to create more space to become more to the emotions that were happening. And so I'm finding like I've just done this flower essences course, and it's really started to make me aware that I'm in the physical at the moment, so to receive from the physical. And I found that, now when I look around, there are flowers everywhere, and stopping in that moment to engage with the flower is me making a choice to love myself, or noticing the bird fly, or just feeling the wind, like just being more present to all the beautiful things that are around you all the time, like Selena was saying, but in the physical sense.
Beautiful. Thank you. Dawson.
So I got some very simple answers, and I
Okay.
think it's really important to keep it simple.
Oh yeah.
I feel like sometimes it can get too convoluted in our head, just so complicated. You go, oh, processing this and processing that, but anger's covering fear, but so I should be scared right now, and you just get also. At least that's the way it is for me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, what are some examples of how I can love my hurt self? Very simple. Allow your emotions to flow.
Yeah.
Give time and space for this. Okay. Pray for love. Pray for truth. Speak the truth to yourself and to everyone else, always.
Okay.
Okay. And finally, follow your passions. You have to.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yep. It's all there. Lovely.
Mhm.
Thank you. And how good that feels, eh? Like straightforward, simple, to the point. You should do more Q&A with your guides.
Yeah, I should. That's a good idea. I do, but not on a
Yeah.
regular basis. I should definitely do more. Yeah.
Yeah, I just came up with a list of questions, except for right now because I'm self-timing out myself from God. So, but usually there's a list of questions. There's a conversation going on. So yeah, that's good. Good. Thank you. Okay, and Selena, you have put yourself up again.
I was just going to say, Dawson really does know how to follow his passions. He's got that one really down pat. And the other attraction is just in how people around you change towards you. Like I went through some real anger stuff and resistance to it, like, oh, that's just so, but then when you see a change, like two of my daughters are just so much less defensive with me. Like, it's just like it took a barrier away between me and them. It's just, wow, I can't even believe this is happening.
Yeah.
I really never thought I would ever
happen for you.
Yeah. Or that it would happen unless they were doing stuff, along, without them doing anything. They just feel different about me suddenly.
Wow.
So
that's
whoa.
beautiful.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I was really resistant, really resistant to doing that work. Yeah.
There's payoff. Absolutely, there's payoff.
Yeah.
But you can always ask, you're like, can you convince me, show me how processing this awful thing is going to help me? How is this going to change? Can you give me something that will increase my faith? Ask for those things, and then something will happen to grow that for you. Jill.
I like being able to do that. So this always comes up for me as far as I guess examples of how I can love myself or anything like that. It's play, explore, and learn. So always play. I mean, we've talked about, we're kind of all in kindergarten here, so act like you're in kindergarten.
Preschool. When are you kindergarten?
Preschool.
Good for you.
We're preschool.
I'm in preschool.
So act like that. Like, we're playing. Hey, listen, I got in touch with playing, getting back and playing with mud. So,
literally
yeah, literally
making mugs. Yeah, beautiful work.
So and then just exploring all the time, and that kind of ties into what Michaela said, with the flowers and exploring all the time. And I think it keeps you kind of that grounded effect of that, for sure. Yeah.
And you're actually loving yourself in the process. That is an act of love.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing how much that act of love will help you.
Yeah.
So, wow, it's fun to experiment. I mean, what can you lose? You can do something nice, something will happen, something good will happen. It's a win-win. Michael.
I make lists, and so just easy to make a list of all these little tasks I could do that would demonstrate love for myself. And it's just, that's not so important. I love what Dawson said. But when I got through with my little list, I realized two things. One is that I ding myself for all these things around me that are not loving that I see. I punish myself for not doing all these loving things that are on my list.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that it's so easy for me to have a complaining voice in saying
Right.
what I need to do and have to do, instead of having the enthusiasm. Yeah, like that. That, like you pointed out, the feeling of if we could just bottle this and keep it with us. So there's an emotional component here that I also push away, and it would be loving to myself to allow myself to indulge in that.
Absolutely. And a lot of us are talking about that theme of play, explore, wonder, curiosity. Like that emotion seems to be what we're all talking about right now for everyone in different ways, whatever that means for you. It's beautiful. Thank you, Michael. Jess, do you wish to share?
I think it was all covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was for you? Paint more?
No, ugh. I'm overworking on a whole bunch of like amazing creative projects,
Okay.
but I'm not actually in the creative, like I'm at an artist residency. I'm supposed to be painting and doing that, but instead I'm on the computer and all these other things. So overwork is huge. Anyways, so to counter that, I got move, get in your body. It's like go somewhere warm. So after Nunavut in August, we go somewhere warm. And then get out of the house. Like I'm in this amazing house. I can see there's a rainbow out there right now.
Wow.
Like, but I don't leave the house because the house is so amazing and I'm overworking. And then don't get stuck in obligation. Listen to intuition and follow your true desire in the moment. So I'm like, oh, like I'll go do that thing after I do this and this and this. And then it's raining or it's getting dark. And it's like, just go. Like, the other stuff will be there. And I work weird hours anyways. Doesn't matter. Do it in the moment. And then pray and talk to God.
Right. That's nice. Thank you. I got sing to myself, express the feeling, get God to show me truth, see my guides. I'm actually able to see guides now. It's just like I saw everyone's guides waiting for you today. Like they were literally either standing behind your chair, they had their arms around you. I was like, wow, there's a lot of eagerness today. Well, every day, but I could see them today. Embrace my feminine self. Ask yourself, will you speak like this to your guide? Like the way I'm speaking to myself. I love my guides. So they're saying, would you speak in this manner to your guides? It's like, no. So then same rule applies, which I think will help. Yeah, this is I gotta think about these answers. But sing, that's my thing. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with I gotta let God back in. I need to get out of my timeout. This is exhausting. It's not working. So, well, we've got some beautiful answers, and go experiment, go play, go try, go do different things, and then confront the self-punishment, because you have to make a choice to stop doing those things. So let's have fun, and then let's see what happens next week. Okay, thank you for your participation. It was wonderful today.
Thank you.